Pom, the number 3, it's been replaced. I'm not going to talk about Mark Murphy anymore, even though I just did. We have a new number 3. His name is it's a young Motlop. I believe this is the first Motlop to be at the Carlton Football Club. I mean, it's exciting. New draftees come, new blood comes, and fresh faces and fresh memories. But to the point, 2022. What is the situation with young Jesse Motlop? Because prior to this year, and maybe prior to last year, the draftees that we were drafting would naturally just come into the team, play straight away. There was a bit of, go on, we need you right now. We need to build for the future. Is that really the case with young Jesse Motlop?
I think he comes in at a great time. If I was Jesse Motlop, this is the time you want to come in at the football club, because I think he's the icing on the cake. He's if he doesn't get ready round 1, we've already prepared. That forward line is already shown it can do what it needs to an extent, with another year of development without him being a star. But I think what makes it exciting for me is this player as a footballer. I think he is a very accomplished footballer, and he's someone that, if you look at our forward line and be honest with yourself, we don't have a kid who can do this. We have basically got prime Betts when he was drafted. It's gone back. We have got an X Factor machine, and he does things that Betts doesn't do. He's incredibly tenacious in the forward line, which is something we lack. So you've only got to look at Pickett and Cody Waitman, the last 2 kids who went. His numbers are more than comparable, if not superior. Played a shed load of senior football as well as a 17-year-old boy against men in one of the most competitive state leagues in Australia, in the Waffle, and done the business. This kid's ready, but this kid can change games. And in a couple of years, him feeding off them 2 big guys, Kerno and McKay, this guy could be a folk hero for the club very quickly.
Yeah, I get that vibe with him too. I think, when we did the draft preview, he was in that category of players who we kind of spoke about, in a fairy tale, they'd be available at the pick that we had. And obviously he was, and we nabbed him up, and, you were pretty shocked that we got him. And yeah, I guess he is a bit of a replacement for an Eddie Betts. And over the last, 2 seasons, we've been talking about the need to fill the small forward hole. And when you talk about Matt Owies, Corey Durden, young Motlop here, I don't know if you classify Josh Honey as a small forward. I look at him more as a, medium type forward. But you look at the small forward stocks, I think, we've got them now. It's all set, and they all do different things. And I don't know if I can put any expectations on Jesse. It's just more about, welcome to the club, develop. If you get a game, great, take your opportunity. But there's something about him. There is something about him which, I don't know, I get this feeling like he's going to play, and he's going to have a few moments, and he might kick 2 or 3 goals in a quarter and maybe be a little bit inconsistent. But then, obviously he'll find his feet, get his legs beneath him. His body will eventually mature into where it's going to be. But the fact that he has played senior footy gives me some confidence that, maybe he can impact at the AFL level.
Oh, spot on. I mean, he's played a decent level. Do you know what I mean? He's played decent players. He played against the West Coast reserve side, who I think had about 6 AFL listed players, and he gave them a bath. So
yeah,
you've got to remember, this is another year down the track. He's now eating elite level food, training with elite level teams. So it's only going to improve. And he's also playing around players who are very elite level themselves, who have been there and done that. And I think he slots in. You only have to hear him speak as well. He loves football, which I got Eddie Betts vibes. And I hate doing that comparison, but just hearing him speak, it was very Eddie Betts, excitable. And I think we need that. We have a lot of mature young kids at the football club, but this kid genuinely loves football. And I think sometimes that is needed. I think sometimes the players need to remember you're playing football as well. That's a pretty good caper. And he's going to bring that enthusiasm. And you can tell we're going to fall in love with Jesse Motlop, can't you? He's got that vibe. You watch his podcast. He's a cheeky chappy. He's going to be a kid that in 2 or 3 years' time, you're going to see number 3 Guernseys at every home game.
Love it. Well, I mean, he gives me, I've said this before, but he gives me Steph Curry vibes because of the fact that he's been in the locker room with dad. He's been amongst the professional environment, and the podcast that he was doing, or the YouTube channel that he was working on last year before his season began, in a really funny way, it's really going to prepare him for the world that we're in now, this new media that we're into. I feel like when he does do press conferences, which he has, he speaks pretty well, and I think he's going to be more prepared than most draftees that come into the league and sort of need real media training, and they're very raw. And so I'm excited from him. I feel like we're getting a full package already.
Oh, spot on. I think that what makes me hopeful is, and we said this in our draft previews, having a second round pick isn't a bad thing, because we need a small forward, and small forwards are the easiest position in AFL to come in and do very well from high draft picks. We see it. It's a very simple position if your team is established around it. And I think for Jesse, he's only got to look at Cody Waitman, who played, I think it was 2 games in 2020, his draft year, but very quickly showed that year, I think he kicked a goal every game, what he's about. And then he came into the team full-time this year, dominated. Similar facets as well, similar height and weight ratio. Keziah Pickett is another one who flew from the ground. And he's a very similar player. He's kind of like a cross between Eddie Betts' goal kicking now, but he's got that typical Woody type hunger where no one gets a free disposal. So I think if I was Voss, it's probably 1 or 2 selection in that small forward for me. I think he'll be very early doors. You'll see this kid. And I think it takes a game. He strikes me as that kid, 1 game, and he's settled. He'll take maybe a sneaky goal out the back. But once he gets it, I think you'll start seeing a few of them. And we'll probably rename it the Motlop Pocket.
I hope so. I mean, don't see any. I mean, when you look at the hole left by Eddie Betts in terms of season 2021, from a statistical point of view, generally speaking, 9 to 12 touches, a goal and a half-ish a game, it's doable. It's doable for a young, crafty, small forward like Jesse Motlop. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. I'm looking forward to seeing his development. What about you guys in the comments? Let us know, what are you expecting from our newest number 3?